Islam Moors. I don't know where I'm at on this, but I'm trying to figure some stuff out. Give me a second. I know I'm 10 minutes on time. I'm 10 minutes on time. Islam family. So let me get acclimated. Let me get it together. Give me a second. I want to be able to see what I'm supposed to be able to see. Islam. So I'm trying to see where I'm at. Islam family. Islam Moors. There's so much propaganda out there. I want to make sure I have this back far enough. Give me a second. 5, 10 minutes. On time. I'm 10 minutes on time. Islam family. So let me get acclimated. Let me get it. All right, let me push it back. All right. I'm trying to get this together because we have much to do. I don't want to get too overwhelmed, so I'm trying, or I am doing the do. This light is so freaking bright, family. It's so bright. It's really bright. Islam. Islam Wars. I don't know why that light is on my camera, but my light is on my camera, so maybe I don't need this one. Maybe I just need the one light. The one light is good. The one light is good, family. Islam, let me get a little acclimated, see where we at with things. Try to make sure I see everyone. Islam family. Islam. All right. Mama has a lot of things going on today. I know that if you've been on my Facebook Live, you've been seeing some things that I'm currently involved in. And I did put that information online. I do hold a allodial title. I do hold a clear, perfect declaration of trust, the Yeshurun, the Moabite trust. So my property is held in trust. I do not abandon my estate. I do not abandon my rights. I reserve and I act on my rights at all times and in all situations. I am Sharon Tracy Gelbay, Moorish American National of Morocco, which is where you stand, which is where the former United States Service Corporations was doing business, because currently they are shut down and they are still shut down. So don't allow the media to divide us. We need to be strong right now. The ancestors are working on our behalf. So Moors, please steadfast. Please stay united. Do what it is that we know we are here to do. We don't act like we love each other. We absolutely do love each other. And we need to stand united as a nation, the Moroccan nation in Morocco, who is in control of our vast estate here in Morocco, because the Service Corporation, the United States Service Corporation, has been leaned and has been leaned since September 11, 2018. That's why the shutdown occurred, and that's why it's going to continue to remain so. Prophet Noble Jew Ali said industry is going to come to a close, and it's going to open up in favor of the Moors, meaning when it opens, Moors, you will be in control. We are not going to allow the Albions, who are here violating all the supreme laws of the land, to violate us any longer. Oh, we'll put it back up. We'll bring it in. Anyway, I have a message. I have a directive. I have a command. I have things to say to Donald Trump doing business as the president of the United States Service Corporation, who has been bankrupt since 1913, actually way longer than that. But we're going to sit here and give him a directive. And Trayvon, please don't touch it. Thank you. To Donald Trump doing business as the president of the United States Service Corporation, I'm going to continue to say it's been shut down since September the 11th, 2018, because of their violations of the supreme laws of the land. Yeah, you have to be quiet. Islam family. To Donald Trump doing business as president of the United States Service Corporation, this lawful command is to be distributed to each and all of the agents and principals immediately. That means as soon as this broadcast is over. We are the Moorish American Nationals, in propria persona, sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heritis. We are the Aboriginal, Indigenous, Sovereign, de jure Moorish Americans and descendants of the pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. We are the judges of the Moorish American Consular Court, the Moorish American Consulate, the Moorish National Republic Federal Government, and the Moorish Divine and National Movement of the World. We, the de jure Moorish Americans, are exercising all of our rights at all times and in all times, as we are the law and we are the government here in Morocco. This affidavit is to inform you all corporate citizens doing business as clerks, judges, attorneys, policy enforcers, sheriffs, and all others doing business as law enforcement on our land that your corporate trusteeship has been terminated effective January 9th, 2019. I'm going to say that again. You've been terminated from all of your capacity, every piece of it, January 9th, 2019. We, the Moorish American Nationals, are the administrators, executors, claimants, creditors, heirs, beneficiaries, and trustees, one to one another, of our own vast estate. We have delivered to the former United States Service Corporation fiduciary Javida Carranza, a copy of the enclosed affidavit of termination of trusteeship, which is confirmed receipt on that day, January 9th, 2019, as indicated. USPS tracking 7018 1130 0002 11259 1919. That document, that lawful termination, is also located on the Facebook group that every Moor needs to get needs to join, because it has all of your liberation documentation right there. What do I mean when I say that? I'll continue that when I'm done. Jovita Carranza has received her command to issue 100 million in gold and silver-backed lawful coinage from the United States Treasury to each and all Moors at North America by way of the de jure Moorish National Republic Federal Government. She has been commanded to issue 100 million in gold and silver-backed lawful currency to the Moorish National Republic Federal Government. Did I read that twice, y'all? I think I did. The ancestors wanted me to kind of go home in on that. And she is to issue an additional 100 million in gold-backed silver currency, lawful coinage, to the Moorish American Consulate so we can build the temple of the moon and sun and govern as our ancestors have commanded it. You are each and all foremost trustees as now constitutional custodians only, and not trustees. You are not administrators. You are not executors. You are not creditors. You are not claimants. You are not heirs nor beneficiaries. You are hereby notified that all Moorish American nationals held within your custody, are now accepted into the jurisdictional custody, in physical custody, and international and territorial custody of the Moorish National Republic Federal Government and our Article 3 courts. That's the Moorish American Consular Court at Morocco. Article 3 jurisdiction, the only jurisdiction here at Morocco. All cases used to hold the Moorish Americans are now moved from your corporate ward court system and accepted into the Moorish American Consular Courts at North America without respect to any corporate claims or assumptions. that's all criminal, that's all civil, that's past, that's present, that's all pending cases that you have on your docket, they are now conveyed to the consulate, the Moorish American Consular Court, Article 3 jurisdiction at Morocco. The heirs are speaking. You are commanded to listen and do as you're told. They and we are ancient Morocco, which is the jurisdiction of our ancestral inherited estate. We abandon no estate. You are hereby commanded to immediately unlock the doors of the prisons, the jails, the institutions, both medical and criminal, in contracts, and release each and all who are accused of victimless crimes. And when I say victimless crimes, I mean not a natural being, not a natural person. Additionally, you are commanded to return complete control of the remaining Moorish American nationals over to us in their current holding institutions so that we can adjudicate their dispositions within our own Article 3 judicial system. Those who remain in their current holding institutions are to be given the best, to be given the very best food, the very best medical attention, at their consent only. Do not force. They are the heirs. You are the custodians. Those who remain, okay, where am I at? That's why I stopped. Warm bedding of their choosing and the treatment that nobility deserves. All proceedings against all Moorish American nationals, as well as all of those branded, as well as our brothers and sisters still branded as Negro, colored, and African American, are to stop immediately without further action. For all of those who are released where victimless crimes are concerned, you are to immediately provide them with the most comfortable, highest quality, fully furnished, spacious, luxurious homes at North America. That is well maintained. And you are to provide the highest quality of food of their choosing, the highest quality of clothing of their choosing, and all of the finest living supplies to include personal hygiene items without demand for any form of payment from them or anyone, as all that we can ask or think is prepaid. All structures on our land belong to us, as so any structures that are occupied by those who are not Moorish American nationals are to be vacated immediately until every Moorish American on our land is well domiciled in the most luxurious domiciles at our choosing. You are to immediately provide the Moorish American Consular Court with all records that you have that were used to violate and detain each and all of the Moorish Americans, that they will be given to our Moorish American grand jury for investigation and indictment for lack of jurisdiction. You are to publicly announce repeatedly that all corporate media outlets, that's ABC, that's CBS, that's CNN, that's what's that other one, PBS, every corporate media outlet on our land daily for the next 90 days that the Moorish Americans at North America will be traveling freely on our land to assist one another in return of our ancestral consciousness, and that we are not to be stopped. We are not to be stopped, obstructed, molested, violated, or questioned at any time by any foreigner. You will say nothing of your failed administration. You will say nothing of your failed administration, except that you are completely shut down and will remain so. You are only to speak of your complete shutdown as the heirs have stood up and are attending to their own affairs. And your custodial position is based on our commands and our commands only. The proceedings are the only two statements. The proceeding is the only two statements that are to be made by your corporate media outlets. Moors, lean, all of them. Moors, lean, all of them. The Moorish National Republic federal government and the Moorish American Consulate will freely travel so that each and every Moorish American national can be uplifted as their nationality is manifested in affidavit form by us. All Moors are nationalized. All Moors are declared and proclaimed. All Moors identifying as Negro, colored, and black etc. are under the jurisdiction of the Moroccan Empire under the Moorish National Republic federal government, the Moorish American Consulate, and the Moorish Consular Court at Morocco. Additionally, you are commanded to honor and provide the prepaid travel of all consuls, all judges, Mohammedan Vizier judges, in the Moorish Americas by the highest quality, most technologically advanced and safest modes of conveyances available on the earth at this time, with our voluntary presentation on one pictured nationality identification card, meaning they only need to provide proof of nationality, and the nationality card suffices that proof. There will be no further examination of the Moorish Americans by any foreigners on our land. Your bandits, your outlaws, and your terrorists until you get subject status from the Moroccan Empire. You are subject automatic, but to be an actual approved subject at Morocco and now the outlawed bandit and terrorists, you need to have papers. There will be no further examination of the Moorish American by foreigners on our land. All foreigners are required to provide lawful documentation to any Moorish American who commands it at any time, or the foreigner will be immediately detained until such time as a trial can be had, of which the Moorish American consuls shall decide. All housing, all travel, all food, all clothing, all that any Moorish American national needs, desires, thinks, or asks at North America is prepaid and will be given to us at our command and is already ours to command. Enclosed, you will find the declaration of the living National Trust of the Moorish National Republic federal government, which all Moorish American nationals are part and parcel of, as it contains all land, all natural resources, to include all gold, silver, water, minerals, oil, etc., electricity, you name it, it's Moors. It belongs to us. We are hereby notifying you that we will begin minting and issuing gold and silverback coinage immediately as the national currency on our land which is all land. You are to provide us with complete access to all that is needed to accomplish this at once. You will begin using the gold resources that were set aside for us by our ancestors at Victoria Peak, New Mexico territory. Entry to the reserves can be accessed at the west side of White Sands at the Hembrillo Basin near Corporate Sierra County, as you are already aware. The Provost Marshal is commanded to assist you as he and she is familiar with the territory. The Provost Marshal is commanded to assist. I gotta do this? The Provost Marshal is commanded to assist using all of his granted custodial authority and the resources within his granted authority to assist you and to assist the Moorish Americans at this time and at all times. You will also arrange for the judiciary of the Moorish National Republic federal government to travel to the aforementioned site, which was Victoria Peaks, New Mexico territory, currently White Sands at the Hembrillo Basin near Corporate Sierra territory or county. Once the removal of the gold begins, so that we can witness the removal process, for future posterity. We will use the gold to begin minting our coinage and papyrus money immediately. In conclusion of this communication, notice that not one Moorish American national that you are holding has been accused of any crimes, nor guilty of any crimes. You have only charged and convicted corporations that are not the living, breathing nobility of the land, of this land, whose very beings are upholding the economies of the earth. And those ancestors, your forefathers, pledged for refuge on our land. Your forefathers pledged for refuge on our land. You are granted that refuge. And now it is time for you to uphold your oaths to us and to our ancestors who have returned to fulfill the pledge that you made in the Declaration of Independence. You've pledged your fortunes, your honor, and your lives. And it is so at this time. You pledged your fortune, your honor, and your lives. And it is so at this very time. Release the Moors immediately and do all that you are commanded to do as stated above immediately. What am I talking about, family? You have to get tired. You have to get tired of the lies. You have to educate yourself, Moors. I'm talking to you, Moors. Donald Trump, doing business as the President of the United States Service Corporation, you have your orders. You have your command. Fulfill them all. All debts on our land have been expunged in regards to our people. They have no debts. The debt belongs to you. Hence the purpose of the nom de guerre. We owe you nothing. You owe us everything. I'm talking about the Albions. I'm talking about the modern Europeans who sought refuge here in the bosoms of the Moroccans, in the bosoms of the Moors, from Great Britain. That's what the Declaration of Independence talks about. You pledged your lives, your fortunes, your honor. That was the first of those supreme laws. What came after that was the organization of your infrastructure within our empire. That was the Articles of Confederation. Once the treaty came, and then after the treaty came, well, our contract in terms of trade in UCC, commerce. The contract is commerce. Why can we lien you out of business? Because you're violating the supreme laws of the land. You violated first in 1861. You violated again in 1913, yet again in 1933, and a host of times in between that. Your doctrine of discovery has been rescinded. Your authority has been rescinded. That's the General Orders letter, washing all of your authority. Donald Trump, you are required, you are commanded to secure the Moorish American nationals, the only Americans at Morocco. That's your job. That's your command. That's your office. You got full faith credit from the Moorish American nationals. Do what we have commanded you to do. Moors, I want to talk about some other things. I got that finished pretty fast. I didn't think I'd get it finished that fast. But I said a lot of things in it. Moors, stand your ground. Right now, the Service Corporation is attempting to hypothecate what belongs to you. Don't abandon your estate. They will use all types of tactics to place fear in you. That's why you gotta lean the media. That's why you have to lean the corporations. That's why you have to lean the nom de guerre. That's why you have to lean the Albions. They're trying to go around the law. The way you give them access to go around the law is by being a nom de guerre. You're a nom de guerre by being a Negro, colored, black, etc., Puerto Rican. Automatically. Don't let them hypothecate what belongs to you for a debt that belongs to them. I had a bandit, a terrorist, a outlaw come to my domicile and attempt to put something on my door. They are desperate and they are going to go look and see what they can get. This is why I keep telling you the seat of their deception is the county corporations. That's why the corporate state of Pennsylvania, the entire top to the bottom has been leaned. Go to the website, www.moorishamericanconsulate.org. They've been leaned. The whole infrastructure, from the senators to the House representatives, to the commissioners of the counties, all the way down to the profanatory, because they're pushing their fraud, violating the supreme laws, because once you stand up, Moors, they got to sit down. They are no longer trustees. Once you stand up, Moors, they have to sit down. They are no longer trustees. Their trusteeship has been terminated January 9th, 2009. They no longer have any, even assumed authority. It's null and void. So, Moors, this is the time to strategize. This is the time to come together in unity. Let's support one another. Let's let's put the message out there to all foreigners who are violating our laws to get off our land. You have your commands. Protect the Americans, which are the Moorish Americans, and no others are Americans. That's one violation. I have a list that goes a mile long of the violations. The question that we need to ask ourselves, Moors, is how long are you going to allow them to violate you? Stand up. Claim your ancestry. Claim your culture. Claim your heritage. They've been denying you this. Also, lean the schools. Lean everything. We're not going to give them nowhere to hide. What they're trying to do, the shutdown only stops when we Moors say it stops. And Donald Trump would get directives strictly from the Moors, saying the Moors have stopped the shutdown. We have not stopped it. Don't be fooled. Moors, this is your opportunity to be yourself. You're being tested by your Creator. Be yourself. Because if you don't, you are going to get swept away with the hurricane called the United States Service Corporation and the Albions that came with that corporation. They were indentured servants then. They're indentured servants now. You're choosing to be an indentured servant yourself by identifying as the Nam de Gears. Your Moors, declare it, proclaim it, profess it to the world. And all you have to do to be linked in is to make that declaration, proclamation within first. General Orders Letter. I like the General Orders Letter, and I'm going to read this because this was the directive from the head of that corporation. When I say the United States Service Corporation was a corporation chartered by the popes of Rome to provide services in Morocco, I ain't playing. That's actually why they're here. They belong to Rome. They had freedom through the Declaration of Independence. And the only things you got to link back up to that is by enforcing the supreme laws of the land, getting your subject papers, and upholding the laws of the land. But if you do none of those things, you need to get off of the land. Islam? General Orders, June 10th, 2014. Issued to all members of the domestic police force, the domestic police force, which is not constitutional, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal Service, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Forces. At the federal level, the American government has always been a separate foreign international maritime jurisdiction operated under contract to provide two services: to protect the national trust assets and perform governmental services for the several states, which in terms of international law are all recognized sovereign states. That's you, Moors. They were here to provide and protect you, Moors. The equity contract known as the Constitution for the United States of America makes it clear that the several states contracted to form a single governmental services agency known as the United States. The contract stipulated the assets to be held in trust. Those contracts have been dissolved by the federal government in the preamble and Bill of Rights, comprising the trust indentured portion of the contract, and also stipulates the 19 enumerated powers or services to be performed. So they had 19 enumerated services to perform. And exactly what powers the states agreed to delegate to the United States and how they would pay for those services. Contract. The Constitution is a contract. What isn't so widely known or appreciated is that the governmental service company, ding, 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 known as the United States, was a privately owned and operated commercial company set up by Benjamin Franklin in 1754. George Washington was originally actually the 11th president of this company, the only the first to have taken an oath after the receipt of the constitutional contract. According to the 1824 Webster's Dictionary, the word federal was a synonym for contract. So federal means contract. At the time the original Constitution was written, federal means contract. All constitutions are affirmations of debt. All constitutions are affirmations of debt. In this case, the debt the states assumed when they created the federal government and jointly agreed to pay for the services that it would provide. The office of president is and always has been a unique commercial office, not a head of state. Commercial office, president of a service corporation. Because the federal government services company is privately owned and operated, only shareholders known as electors have a real say in its elections and administration. Only trustees, known as members of Congress, have the right to determine how the national trust assets are protected, though they are obligated as trustees to do a reasonably good job. They ain't doing that. And only the states have the right to complain if the stipulated services are up to par. So what did I say just now? I said it's a service corporation that has electoral votes, which means when you vote, you're voting nothing because you have no say, because you dissolved your nationality for a privilege and an infrastructure that does not benefit you, and doesn't even give you privileges. The American people at large, known similarly as inhabitants of the domestic states or state citizens, have always been a separate and distinct population apart from U.S. citizen or federal citizen. And to these two groups, a third kind, lowercase citizens, was added in 1871, that of U.S. citizen. Following the Civil War, the Governmental Services Company, provided the services agreed to buy the states reorganized as a corporation doing business as the United States of America Incorporated, and published its articles as the Constitution of the United States of America. Unlike the Constitution for the United States of America, the Constitution of the United States of America is a document peculiar to the new municipality, that is, city-state government, formed to administer the affairs of the District of Columbia and federal territories' possessions. This corporate constitution provided for the creation of a new kind of federal citizen, a U.S. citizen, Those are bandits, outlaws, and terrorists. And from this point on, from the perspective of the new federal municipal government formed by the Act of 1871, American state citizens, the inhabitants of the domestic 50 states, were regarded as non-resident aliens. This same corporation doing business as the United States of America Incorporated, chartered in Delaware, began operating two separate governments at once, the municipal government and the District of Columbia, and the federal government owned to the United States Union, to the states of the Union, both under the auspices of the United States Congress. These semantic deceits have given rise to endless confusion, usurpations, and criminality. These general orders address some of those issues which are most important at this time. The Congress ceased operating as it was required by contract to operate in 1860, sine die. After December of 1865, it never again operated as an unincorporated body politic representing the State of the Union. The federal government, in air quotes, has functioned exclusively as an incorporated commercial entity with an elected board of directors, merely calling itself the U.S. Congress ever since. So they playing you. As much, the federal government is a commercial corporation like any other commercial corporation, which is why you can lead them out of business. It has no special status, no immunities for possession, and has functioned as a governing body of a sovereign nation for 150 years because you chose to identify as a Negro, colored, and black and white person. To overcome this obvious difficulty, the U.S. Congress formed another union of American states from the federal territories and possessions. The several insular states, including the state of New Columbia, District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, etc., and formed a new nation simply calling itself the United States of America and claimed separate nationality sovereignty. So they've been playing and acting as if they are government when they're trustees administering an estate because you still continue to choose to be a nom de guerre, a Negro, colored, black, and white person. Thus, we have the United States of America Major, comprised of the now 50 organic states created by statehood compacts, and the United States of America Minor, representing the 7 both being administered under the direction of the corporate board of directors known as the U.S. Congress. This is why nothing happens and nothing happens in your favor, family, because there are actors acting on their own benefits, don't care to give you anything because you've chosen a privilege over your nationality and birthright, where people can't hypothecate your unalienable and inalienable estate. That's what you did. When you claim to be a Negro, colored, or black person under the nom de guerre straw mans that they have established, you have no rights. You can't call in the supreme laws because you are outside of the law. That's why you're an outlaw, bandit, and terrorist. Which has continued to act solely as the sovereign government of the United States of America Minor. Why is it continue to act that way? Because you continue to feed it. This blatant semantic deceit by officers of the federal corporation and officials of the United States of America Minor amount to purposeful, constructive fraud against their employees, the American organic states. To try to overcome this obstacle, members of the U.S. Congress contrived a complex regulatory scheme by which they established their own state governments and have tried to claim that they have been at war with the American people while relying upon the organic states for their own sustenance, and have falsely claimed that they established exclusive legislative jurisdiction over the organic states of the Union by these acts of self-interested fraud carried out against their employees and beneficiaries. American people are peaceful inhabitants of Morocco. All of these individuals who've pledged their lives, liberty, and honor are the outlaws, bandits, and terrorists, because they're warring against the people while the people are declaring peace. The Moorish American nationals are declaring peace on the Moroccan lands. Y'all warring against us by violating this directive, the directive July 4th, the letter to Obama. I'm going to read next. Fraud has no statute of limitations, family. The Governmental Services Corporation has always been under commercial contract to provide services to the American people and have acted against their employers as employees. They're treating you as employees at will and denying you the very things that they are supposed to provide for you through the contracts. Another reason why you can lean them and why they're shut down. Still, it is essential that members of the Bar Associations, members of the state governments, which have been surreptitiously redefined to their detriment, members of the domestic police force, and members of the various armed forces gain a clear understanding of the fact that for purposes of administration of government services on American state soil, the federal government is a corporation with no more civil authority on the land than J.C. Penney, Harley Davidson, or Walmart. The federal government is under contract to the organic states, and as our forefathers vested the entire civil government on the land and the people inhabiting the land, each American is a sovereign organic state of the Union. That's why you have nationality. Each of us has more civil power and authority on the land than the entire federal government has ever had or can ever have. They only have support by you claiming to be a U.S. citizen. For this reason, and as a result of the deliberations which have already taken place among the other nations of the world, the federal government doing business as United States Inc., all capital letters, a French commercial corporation, is hereby called to task for non-performance on its contractual obligations. Another reason why you can leave. And all of the other fraudulent claims, the semantic deceits involving in claiming that American state citizens are U.S. citizens, and all of the other fraudulent claims advanced against the American states and people are to be fully recognized for what they are: fraudulent claims having no merit and owning no enforcement. Which means, I'm just going to continue. Other corporate entities, notably the Federal Reserve, all caps, and International Monetary Fund, all caps, which are responsible for creating and promoting this fraud, are to be recognized and dealt with appropriately as international dealers in fraud and usury. American Negroes have in the past been considered U.S. citizens because that is the only citizenship they were ever granted after the Civil War. A grave error of justice that resulted in them only having civil rights, which are privileges granted by the United States Congress instead of their natural and unalienable rights they naturally have as heirs, because you're Moors. You're claiming to be the nom de guerre under the U.S. Service Corporation, which holds you in everything you think you have. They were also claimed as chattel, backing the debt of the United States of America, Incorporated, despite both national and international prohibitions, abolishing slavery and peonage. So you're asking for slavery by identifying as a nom de guerre, Negro, colored, and black, outside of your heirship, as the nobility of the land, which is holding up the economies of the world. A prompt correction is available from the organic states by proclamation of these organic states. They are granted full and immediate recognizable status as American nationals. So when Donald Trump, doing business as the president of the United States Service Corporation that is dissolved, bankrupt, no more. No such thing as a government shutdown. We're doing a government revitalization, the Moroccan Empire. You're the Moorish American nationals. So when he's talking about America, he's talking about you Moors. When he's talking about nationals, he's talking about you Moors. When he's talking about immigrants, he's talking about his people. Owned all the national and unalienable rights of any other organic state citizen, no matter which geographically defined state they may inhabit on the land. The only exception are those unfortunate born within the borders of the insular states, District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, etc., who must self-declare under Article 15 of the United Nations Declaration of the Rights of Human Rights, where you have the right to declare your nationality. It has been the policy of the United States of America Minor to consider all federal employees and members of the active duty military who are birthright inhabitants of the United States of America Major temporary dual citizenship subject to the United States of America Minor. However, the United States of America Major recognizes no dualship whatsoever, and the process required for any birthright inhabitant of the land to adopt a U.S. citizenship is both lengthy and purposefully, as stated in the U.S. State Statutes at Large 2 Revised Statute 2561. As the employers of the United States of America Minor, we exercise our proprietary interest and direct all American state citizens to defend the interests and integrity of the American organic states, regardless of any contrary orders issued by a corporate officer of the United States or foreign officer acting under the auspices of the United States of America Minor. All birthright state citizens of the United States of America Major are specifically enjoined from engaging in any activity contrary to the health, welfare, safety, and benefits of their fellow state citizens, and will otherwise be recognized as criminals regardless of what uniform they wear or what authority they pretend to have. If corporate President Obama should order any member of the U.S. military or any armed agency personnel, that's BATF, IRS, NSA, FEMA, etc., to open fire upon any American state citizens, it will be a war against non-combatant civilians, and it will immediately recognize as such throughout the world, which is why they classify you in their media outlets as black people, which is why they don't call you Moorish American nationals. They denationalize you, you denationalize yourself, so they are not held to the violations of the human genocide that they are creating by killing our Moorish American nationals. You have to, Moors, declare and proclaim your nationality so they can and establish your own narrative and state for the record who you are at all times. For all military and civilian-based defense and law enforcement agencies, the rule to be observed is if you can't do it as a private individual, you can't do it as a public officer. If you can't do it as a private individual, you can't do it as a public officer. If you can't steal people's stuff as a private individual, you can't steal people's stuff as an officer. You can't go into people's domicile telling them, forcing your will on another. Any state citizen who is forced to open fire on federally or federal, state, or state, all caps, funded personnel in defense of life or property will be recognized as a non-combatant civilian without exception, held harmless and protected by all members of the American Armed Forces of the United States of America Major and all American state militia. Any state citizen so imposed upon by those in his or her employment or hired by those in his or her employment in any capacity whatsoever, including elected officials, will be entitled to full reparations, Moors, in the amount of 5 million USD lawful currency we're going to put here, or the equivalent at the time of damage incurred by every death. So every Moorish American national that is murdered, that's what you can receive from. Anyway, $2.5 million on the equivalent at the time the damage for every permanent disability. So if they shoot your leg and now you got one leg, you get 2.5. They shall also be owed full reparations for all property damaged, incurred, and up to 80 times compensatory damages at the discretion of the jury of their own peers. Albions are not your peers, Moors. Your Moorish brethren are your peers. That is a part of the contract. So when you say I want a jury of my peers to fight an allegation or a claim, corpus delicti must be there. Hence why the orders I just read to Donald Trump to release our brothers and sisters out of the penal system. The individual states of the Union formed by statehood compact retain the full and unencumbered claim upon their birthright inhabitants. These states are defined geographically. They are not incorporated entities, and they are not represented by any incorporated state of or state of all caps organizations at this time. They are presented solely by the unincorporated body politics and their individual inhabitants who retain all organic and civil prerogatives on the land. Those organizations currently calling themselves the State of Alaska or the State of Alaska, all caps, etc., are representatives of two different governmental services corporations operated by the Federal Reserve, all caps, State of Alaska, in parentheses and air quotes, and the International Monetary Fund, all caps, and State of Alaska, air quotes, in parentheses and all caps, doing business as franchises of the United States of America Incorporated and the United States Inc., all caps, respectively. They have no representational capacity whatsoever and are operating under commercial contract only. Because these states and federal entities have all functioned under conditions of non-disclosure and semantic deceits serving to promulgate fraud upon the organic states and the American people. That's me, Morris. They are all to be considered criminal syndicates and to extend that they have been aware of their status and their failure, and have failed to correct their operations and representations. All contracts held by these organizations or assumed to be held by these organizations are null and void for fraud. These contracts include, but are not limited to, contracts for sale, for labor, for trade, citizenship, contracts, power of attorney, licenses, mortgages, registrations, and application agreements of all kinds. Everything, y'all. All signature of American state citizens acting under the influence of semantic deceit and non-disclosures are rescinded. They have no authority here, Moors. No one has authority outside of our authority as sovereigns of the land. That's the Moors. That's the Moorish American nationals. All those individuals engaged in employment as federal and state and municipal employees and elected officials are hereby given notice that they are employees of private for-profit corporations that are merely under contract to provide stipulated public services, having no special status, having no immunities, and having no authority as sovereign nations or states. They're outlaws, bandits, terrorists. Any actions that they take infringing on the rights and prerogatives of American state citizens are criminal acts without exception and are to be treated as criminal acts. They're telling you they're criminal acts, they should be treated as criminal acts. These individuals have exactly the same standing as employees of any other commercial company, and the rules, regulations, codes, and other statutes they enforce are obligations unique to those organizations only. So their processes, their procedures are internal directives for them and not to be placed outside of that. Posse Comitatus. Posse Comitatus, go look that up. Is to be observed and enforced on the land of the domestic or organic states regardless of any executive order issued by Barack H. Obama acting as President of the United States of America Minor or as the President of any incorporated entity whatsoever. Posse Comitatus. Look that up. Post the definition, Moors. I want y'all to do that. Any such impositions of martial law by Mr. Obama has exactly the same legal standing as martial law imposed by the President of Burger King International, or the King of Sweden, or the land of the Organic States, or Walmart, or Wawa. He can order his paid employees to commit hara-kiri if he wishes to do so, and they may follow his instructions if they care to, but they may not under any circumstances murder anyone, assault anyone, seize any private property, Moors, or cause any trouble for American state citizens, or they shall be immediately recognized as criminals and treated as such. Outlaws, bandits, terrorists, Moors, we need to unify. We need to stick together, and we need to support one another. When the bandits come out trying to act like they government, they just told you all that they ain't government. Likewise, the government of the United States of America Minor may do what it wills with those who are legitimately born under its hegemony. But it cannot say one word claiming authority over the birthright state citizens of the United States of America Major. Please note that Barack H. Obama is Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. Armed Forces, which legitimately includes the Puerto Rican Navy and whatever service forces are endemic to Guam, American Samoa, and the other insular states. The Grand Army of the Republic and its successors are obligated to perform under General Orders 100. Y'all want to look that one up. The American Armed Forces are also known as the Armed Forces of the United States of America Major, are paid for by and obligated to serve the organic states, which we present and for which we require your service. In the absence of properly formed and organized or an operational government of the Republic, all rights revert to the organic states, including the civil authorities to issue these general orders. President Barack H. Obama is operating as an official of the United States of America Minor and as a corporate officer and the employee of the United States, all caps, in a French commercial corporation that was chartered in 1754. By the International Monetary Fund, an agency of the United Nations, all caps, he is not now, nor has he ever been elected to a public office of the United States Major. So he was only a president of a service corporation here to provide services. That's it. And y'all didn't vote for him, just so y'all know. They only put him in that seat so y'all would not start back when y'all was supposed to start, Moors. Likewise, the members of the U.S. Congress have never taken the oath of a public office of the United States of America Major and are merely operating as private corporate officers of the same corporation company doing business as the United States. Hence why they've been leaned and why they're not operating. Moors, you don't want them to re-establish anything. They're talking to you, and they'll say anything on the public forum because with your ignorance and your lack of knowledge, you'll believe anything they say because you are outlaw bandits and terrorists because you haven't declared or proclaimed your nationality. All officers deriving and paid and or receiving credit entirely or in part as a result of the original equity contract known as the Constitution for the United States of America are offices of the Armed Forces of the United States of America Major. By definition, and those who serve in these offices are employees of the inhabitants of the domestic, now 50 states defined by statehood compacts. As such, you are now receiving direct orders under civil authority of these organic states. All of the foregoing circumstances is indeed the mischief predicted by Chief Justice Harlan in his dissenting opinion given in Downs and Bidwell. Mischief resulting from allowing Congress to operate two governments at once. One a constitutional republic and the other an oligarchy under the plenary controls of Congress. The members of the U.S. Congress have been corrupted by power, lust, or through ignorance, subverted, and used to serve the aims of criminals. This does not give anyone else a license to sin. It merely requires the recognition of the sins of the members of the Congress and appropriate enlightened action deriving them of any power or exercise to continue these deceits and usurpations. There are 515 people responsible. It is incumbent upon them to straighten it out and for the rest of us to assist them in doing so. It is also the responsibility of members of the domestic police forces and all members of the American military to preserve the peace and tranquility and prosperity owed to the American people. That's you, Moors. By order issued by Pope Francis doing business as Franciscus on July 11, 2013, all members of the American Bar Association are similarly required to serve the cause of peace and will be held individually responsible for any action seeking to undermine the government of the organic states of the Union or defraud the people inhabiting the organic states. We affirm under penalty of perjury that we are natural living birthright inhabitants of the Wisconsin state and Washington state respectfully, fully of age, permanently domiciled in the jurisdiction of the heir, holding unembedded material interest upon the land jurisdiction of the United States of America Major. These civil orders are issued upon our civil, commercial, and canon authority by our living hands and our testaments, jointly sworn and witnessed by our seals, autographed before Pope Francis and all nations, declaring that the truth of these matters has been established beyond reasonable doubt upon the public record, and we hereby autograph, seal, and issue these general civil orders to all officers, commissioned and non-commissioned, active duty and reserves, without the United States of America Minor, without the United Nations, and without the city of Westminster, and without representation. And it's signed. And it's signed. Now, when he gave this order, he had to follow it up with this order. He had to follow this up with this order because they continue to violate this order. Okay? Why is this? Y'all gotta stop pinging me. Give me a second. I'm going to read this one too. I'm trying to get these. Oh, God. Everybody keeps texting me. It's ridiculous. Civil Orders, July 4th, 2014. Issued to all members of the domestic police forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal, the members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Forces. This is smaller. I want you to read it. I want you to watch this video over and over again, Norris. You have to stand your ground. You have to not acquiesce. All law is on your side, as long as you have declared and proclaimed and professed your status, which is your Moorish American nationality. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America Major, exercising plenary civil powers upon the land, hereby appoint General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and with their full support. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces, it's necessary. We grant the command. Operating under the disguise of being federal government agencies, including but not limiting to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, the Internal Revenue Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, etc. General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owned to the United States of America Major, stationed in North America, and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of the air, land, and sea are at his employ. We need to command that to happen. This order, to some degree, is being followed by many, but not by all. We're at the Moorish American Consulate as a Vizier Mohammedan judge here in Tracy Gale Bay. I domicile at the post head of the Northeast Amexem territory. My domicile is the post head of the Moorish American Consulate, Northeast Amexem, which is protected under international laws under the Vienna Convention on Consular Affairs of 1963. Just to let you know, that's my public notion. My public notion. I'm trying to speak, y'all, but I said a lot. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged in stipulated prior. All effort shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the State of the Union without exception. The Grand Army of the Republic is uniquely enabled by these orders to operate on the land of the 50 organic states for the purpose of securing the lives and property of the American states and the American state citizens. The Grand Army of the Republic is not a foreign army and is composed primarily of American state citizens. If required to take full position, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on American state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and a widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. All parties must be brought to understand that the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority, and their own obligation to act in favor of the organic states of the Union. The Grand Army of the Republic shall continue to operate under General Orders 100, known as the Libra Code, extant from the pen of the last Republic President Abraham Lincoln. No orders, executive or otherwise, issued by Barack Obama, now Donald Trump, pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as President of the United States Corporation, now bankrupt and liened, nor as the President of the United States of America minor, are owed any performance by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Ham, or any ordinary. All plainly stated grants of contractual authority evident in the Constitution for the United States of America remain in place subject to good faith performance of the accompanying obligations and treaties. Mr. Obama, but I'm going to substitute Obama because he's no longer in office of this corporation, and substitute Donald Trump. Donald Trump is the president of the Governmental Service Corporation under contract to provide stipulated services to the organic states and is on their payroll. He otherwise acts as a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. In neither of these capacities is he allowed any granted authority to impose upon American state citizens, endanger American state property, or command mercenary forces on American soil, however veiled as federal service, civilian service agencies. We require the Joint Chiefs of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agency personnel and to seize control of the vast stockpiles of arms which have been improperly amassed by the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and other agencies employed of the United States. We command you to seize all of them, including the police forces operating unlawfully on American soil. Seize all arms, firearms, weapons, because they are not supposed to be operating in any capacity on our land. We need that help. We require, where was I? The only federal agency allowed free egress on the land of the American states is the U.S. Marshal Service. Sheriff ain't supposed to be doing nothing. And neither too is the police departments. So the U.S. Marshals, we need you to be on deck. We need you to be on deck in supporting and defending and protecting the American people, which is the Moorish American nationals. This is one that needs protection. And then only when their personnel are engaged in their duty to protect the U.S. mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. All other federal agency personnel are limited to unarmed services until further notice. So nobody else should have firearms on their hips. We need that command enforced. All sheriffs, all police, All of these agencies that are outside of the U.S. Marshal Service, all of their weapons need to be confiscated immediately. This directive gives them that authority as the vizier of the Mohammedan, as a vizier Mohammedan judge of the Moorish American Consulate, the Moorish National Republic federal government is speaking directly to you. We direct the Joint Chiefs of Staff to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to Donald Trump, the member of the U.S. Congress, the administrators of all federal agencies, and the members of the Supreme Court, and those acting as governors to compel their rapid understanding of cooperation. Any expenses or damages incurred by these organic states or any American state citizen as a result of actions undertaken by the federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenaries on American state soils will be understood as a result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land, and will incur immediate judgment, liquidation of the assets of liquidating the assets of the International Monetary Fund and the Federal Reserve in all caps and bracketed, in payment of the stipulated reparations. Such crimes shall also be considered contract default, increasing the public debt subject to bounty. So they're sitting here creating bounties on you, Moors. They got bounties on their head right now, based on every violation. That's why you have to declare and proclaim your nationality and state in affidavit format the injury that has been placed upon you and sent to the Moorish American Consulate. Any and all corporate officers of the United States or any successor organizations inheriting federal service contracts who support, condone, and promote such criminal crimes against the American states or against the American state citizens shall be subject to arrest and prosecution for commercial and violent crimes. All foreign officials operating as elected or appointed officials of the United States of America minor who support, condone, and promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest, confiscation of their assets, and deportation to Puerto Rico, Guam, or other such states as may be willing to receive them. Such foreign officials include members of the American of the American and British Bar Associations who were licensed to act as privateers against the interests of the American state and the American state citizens from 1845 to 2013 in flagrant breach of trust. They stopped at 2013 because those contracts and those authorities were dissolved, terminated. All such licenses are now extinguished. Members of the Bar Association are required to cease and desist assaults against the American states and the American state citizens and shall be subject to arrest, confiscation, deportation, and otherwise. There's a lot of violations going on in Morocco by these individuals claiming to have such authority still, and they don't have it. Stop contracting. You can't even contract with them. It's like going to Walmart and asking them to represent you as a Moorish American national. They have no authority, and they all are probably part of those 60,000 indictments waiting. Insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America Incorporated in the United States have contrived under conditions of fraud and deceit to revenue the estates of the American states and living American state citizens to the foreign jurisdiction of the United States America minor. I'm going to read that again because that is where the important part is. Insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America Incorporated, that's a service corporation, and the United States, all caps, have contrived under conditions of fraud, deceit, and semantic deceit to revenue, which is hypothecate, the estates, your estates, of the American states and living American state citizens to the foreign jurisdiction of the United States of America minor. They are found guilty of capital crimes, including acts of fraud and treason committed between 1933 and 1945 and are condemned posthumously. Posthumously. In so much as elected officials operating the United States of America minor have simultaneously or similarly committed war crimes against the American states and their peaceful inhabitants during the same time period. They are both condemned. From the beginning, no enforcement upon American state or American state citizens is owed as a result of any act or any Congress operating as the foreign government of the United States of America minor, nor the board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. All those E-states and capital E states erroneously believed to represent the American state and American state citizens, and which were conveyed by fraud and legal deceit to the United States of America minor, and more recently to the city-state of the United Nations, are revenued without exception to the geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity as assets belonging to the rightful and lawful beneficiaries. Your property has already been reconveyed to you because they took it away from themselves. They said it's yours now. This is why you claim it. This is why you title it. This is why you put a trust in it. They're operating in violation because they were told to sit down. When he said all these states, I want to get to the part. Reconvenued, all your estates, all your property, all your wealth, all your resources, mineral, gold, everything has been revenued, without exception to the geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they have remained in perpetuity as assets belonging to the rightful and lawful heirs. That's you, Moors. You already have been reconveyed the property. Title it, put it in a trust, and put it on the public record. All legal fiction entities, however structured and named after the American state citizens and the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them in their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by officers of the United States of America Incorporated or the United States Inc., all caps, or by any foreign officials operating the United States of America minor or the United Nations city-state falsely claiming to represent them or have jurisdiction over them. I'm going to post that later, just so y'all have it. Note that the current circumstances is in part the result of criminal activities engaged over 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans, branded Moorish American nationals, branded African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattel backing the U.S. government debt in the wake of the Civil War. So the Moors were denationalized and tagged as a African American after the Civil War to pay their freaking debt back from the war. Despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery, it has been the policy of the U.S. government to enslave its citizens and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world, including, instead of freeing African Americans, Moorish American nationals who are misclassified as a nom de guerre. The sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to the outrageous and improper claims that has been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle these circumstances in favor of the people. We recall the Grand Army of the Republic to do what was commanded in 2014. Get on the ground, protect the Moors, get out there and be a presence so we know you're there. Protect the Moorish American nationals, branded Negro, colored, and black, from the hypothecation of their vast estate. I have had many classes, many times to tell you to reel this in as to what happened and what you need to do to correct the mistakes. You can no longer operate the way you've been operating, Moors. You've been operating under the nom de guerres as U.S. citizens, which are outlaws, bandits, and terrorists. This is why from time to time, when they need something, they just squeeze you a little harder, put more of you in those POW camps to work for them, and you are modern day slaves. Because you are choosing a benefit which is not beneficial to you instead of being a part of your government, the Moroccan Empire. What did I say? I said Moors right now because the Service Corporation is trying to stay here, is trying to stay afloat with all the Moors, leading them. Every infrastructure of them continue to do so. Every last one. If they want to do business here, they have to do it through the Moors. If they want to stay here, they have to have approval through the Moors. And the thing that the Moors is asking for, is commanding, is peace in Morocco. Not only peace in Morocco, but protection and security for what is truly yours, what is truly mine. So Donald Trump, you have been given a lot of directives. Commands. Two of these you've already known. One we just informed you of. This document will be downloaded to the Moorish American Consulate website. That's at www.moorishamericanconsulate.org, as well as on my Facebook group, Moorish American Consulate, N.E. Amexum. That's Moorish American Consulate, N.E. Amexum. It has a plethora of documents. We have a grid. We call it the Moorish American National Grid. To be even on the grid, you have to declare and proclaim your nationality. And once you do that, it's revenuing all your estates from these individuals who don't even own it anymore, who have no interest anymore or no authority. And this document right here solidifies your claim, even though you didn't need it to do the solidification, because you are Moors by birthright, the sovereigns of the land. I've leaned specifically the corporation styled as Pennsylvania Corporation. That whole infrastructure. That's all of the 206, I think, House of Representatives. I can't remember the total number of senators. Those were mentioned. All of the president judges of that infrastructure. All of the counties of that infrastructure. All of their that whole infrastructure, because that is a fraudulent, unlawful enterprise that is part of the Doctrine of Discovery, which has been dissolved, and they're trying to not claim or not accept your statuses. They don't have jurisdiction. They don't have authority. They are a corporation, and they've been leaned out of business because of the violations, the denationalizations, and them doing all of this fraudulent business here at Morocco. Moors, we need to stand in solidarity. We need to stop pushing things that will never support us. Moors, unification, unification, unification is the order of the day. If you can't do it for yourself, if you can't do it for your mother, if you can't do it for your father, if you can't do it for your consort, if you can't do it for anyone, do it for your heirs. Do it for them, because many of us were born into this subjugation. You have freedom staring you right in the face. All you have to do is declare and proclaim your Moorish nationality. Stand for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and get this fraud off the land. Islam? So Donald Trump, release all Moors in those facilities who are there on victimless crimes. It says that here. It says all mortgages is expunged, all hypothecation, all fraudulent claims. Nobody who doesn't have brown skin or come from an Asiatic womb has any claim here at Morocco. No one. No Walmart, no Wells Fargo, no Bank of America, no Real Estate, Global Real Estate Inc. doing business as. None of them. They are corporations. They all need to be leaned out of business. If you're not going to do business, supreme law enforced business, if you're going to do the fraudulent things that you've gone accustomed to doing because you come down from a line of bandits, outlaws and terrorists, you are no longer welcome at the land of Morocco, and we give full faith and credit and command and authority to the Grand Army of the Republic to remove you from this land. Pax et Amor. So more support each other. Be there for each other. The sheriff of the service corporation, styled as the county of Delaware of the Pennsylvania Corporation, said they was going to be at my domicile. The consulate, the Moorish American Consulate, Northeast Maxim, on Monday to evict me from my home. I command Donald Trump, you do something about that. I command Donald Trump, the Grand Army of the Republic, the U.S. Marshals, get out there and do your job. You have the full faith and credit of the Moorish American Nationals, the Moorish National Republic federal government, as long as you are standing and following the oaths of the supreme laws of the land and getting all of this hypothecation and unlawful activity through these all unlawful individuals out of Morocco. So support Moors. Support me. Be here on Monday at the consulate to support me and to support your nation, to make sure no hypothecation is done at my domicile. I'll post the link. I'll post the location. You already know the location as to where the Moorish American Consulate Northeast post head is. It's protected by the Vienna Convention on Consular Affairs. It's protected by international law. It's protected by the supreme laws of the land. It's protected by this Moorish American national who does not abandon or acquiesce her estate at any time or at all times. I'm standing my ground on my Moorish estate. I tell Moors to do the same, but Moors support one another. Support us in supporting each other and unify and be there for one another while we get these colonizers off our lands who are warring against the supreme laws of the land. Pax et Amor.
It's telling you to shut down.
I know, because it's probably about to die. Hold on.